Right, so we'll start it. Episode 7.
Yep, 7.
And we don't really have anything to speak about specifically. However, what I would like to touch on is I was spoken to not so long back. I had this like altercation, if it were, or I don't know. It probably was a debate, but I reckon it definitely got maybe somewhat heated on the other part, and it was just about. It was about like the views and opinions of a woman that goes out all the time. And we touched on the views and opinions of a man that goes out all the time.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't think there's a difference. I think they get viewed the same by the opposite person, but the opposite person doesn't seem to think that the other person, whatever, right? But
I can see the heat. Again.
Yeah.
Heated now.
So like, just a bit of background to it all. So like, I can't remember what it was, but there was a reaction to a story, and then I think it was somewhat like someone said that something that potentially I was doing was like not attractive or something, and then what was it?
Judging your behavior, or like
it was like something. Oh, why would you, like what? I can't remember how it all came around, but anyway, it ended up bubbled down to. So I turned around and was like, well, you go out quite a lot.
Yeah.
And that could be seen as unattractive. And then, bro, from that point, it was, as you saw it, it was like a back to back. But so like I reckon we touch on that.
On the dynamics of
So what, first and foremost, I guess, just to roll it all off, what's your views if you were in the position to be dating and you were considering women as partners? What's your views on women going out all the time?
So first and foremost, my whole mantra how I go by it, I would never tell someone they can or can't, like a woman, you can't do this, you can't go out. But that doesn't mean there isn't an expectation.
Yeah.
That's more so me.
You wouldn't consider someone who done a set amount.
Yeah, exactly. So like, as I would never tell you what you can or can't do, but I'm still, there's a level of respect I expect you to show me if you're trying to take it serious. And I'm leaving that to you to display that on your own accord and to have your own thought process to come to that conclusion. So nobody should need to tell you what to do, and I wouldn't do that. But you should come to that right balance yourself if you're taking something seriously, because your actions are more important than words, that kind of thing. So like, if you're serious about someone, it shouldn't need to be a discussion in the first place. You should know on your own accord, right? If I'm going out all the time, if I'm going to these clubs all the time, every weekend, and that's my only form of social interaction with my friends is going to the club, which for a start I'd say is maybe you have to check them friendships. If you can only kind of be around your friends in a club, then I would be quick to say maybe they're not as much of friends as you think. They're more like club acquaintances than actual friends. Because your real friends, you can go out to eat, you can go just chill and do nothing with. But anyway, back to topic. Yeah, so if you're trying to be serious with someone and you're going to the club non-stop, I'm just going to say straight up, that's not displaying that you're serious about that person.
What about if you take it back a bit and say, do you think the club is a good place to look for a potential partner?
No. And the reason I say that is because the intentions of people, you might go into the club with the intentions of potentially connecting with someone. You know, you might think to yourself, oh, I'm fed up with dating apps. I want to connect with someone in the moment that I've come across in the moment in a pure way. That I can understand. But what I'll say is it's not necessarily the fault of the person going into the club with that intention, but it's about being mindful of all the other people in the club. So the majority of people in the club are not going to have that same intention.
Yeah.
And if you're a woman looking for a man in a club, knowing how men are, you're not finding love. Like Usher said, Usher's song is making love in the club, right? Okay, but you're not gonna find love in the club. Or it's unlikely.
Usher had a bit too much.
That's because he's Usher, you see. But for regular people, it's like, but I just think the mentality is not there. Because knowing how men operate in the club, and I ain't even been in a nightclub for a long, long time, but how it was back when I used to go, a lot of men they're going there for that quick fix. They're going there for, you know, that woman they can meet and maybe sleep with and then whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're not thinking about relationships when they're in a club. And you might get some people that, which is how like we were and how I was, where I'm going to a club for the music. I don't even care about the women in the club. Like, of course, you see an attractive woman. You see an attractive woman. Oh, you acknowledge in your head, oh, she's an attractive woman. But I'm not going to the club to see that. I'm going to hear this new album that dropped 3 weeks ago in the club and like vibe with my bros or something like that. But it's all about understanding people's intentions and then reflecting your intentions through your own actions. And if you're being serious, say if you've been dating somebody and they're not in the club with you, but you're then going to the club without them constantly, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to the club and you're cheating or being like disingenuous towards them through what you're doing in the club, but it's just about what you're portraying through those actions and what that really means. Because you're putting yourself you're putting yourself in an environment which is known for people to be mingling, connecting with other people, men and women connecting, or women and women, and men and men. Like, people are having those type of interactions in a club, and that's known. So whether your intentions are to go there and do that or not, you're sending a message by going there constantly. Almost would maybe potentially come across like you're searching for someone. So you may be projecting the image that you're not satisfied with this person you're dating or the person that you're saying you're interested in, because you're almost out scouting. You're in an environment essentially where people are scouting for people to potentially date and things like that. What were you going to say?
I remember now what the actual argument was about. So the person in question said their opinion was that if a man has a problem with a woman that goes out too much, it's an insecurity. And I said, absolutely not. It depends on the man.
Yeah, definitely.
But it doesn't even depend on the man. It depends on the person. If the person is sure of themselves and the person is secure or confident, often that leads to a mentality which doesn't like seeing someone go out all the time, because going out, there isn't necessarily a positive to going out all the time.
Yeah.
There's a decline in finances.
Yeah.
If you drink, there's a decline in productivity and health. It is time consuming.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, there isn't necessarily a clear cut. If you go out, obviously there's mental health benefits to going out if that is your way of letting off steam. But again, that is moderation, right? Yeah. Like, it is still a nightclub. It is still time consuming. It's not like quickly going to the gym for an hour, lifting some weights and letting off some steam. So I said, no, absolutely not. Like I said, for me personally, like, I would like to consider myself as quite successful. I just find it unattractive myself. If I see a girl Friday, Saturday every single week, popping off in the club, different stories of different cities and stuff. In my opinion, I haven't got no insecurities. I don't want to deal with the amount of attention that's going to bring to them, for one. Yeah. And secondly, I just don't find it attractive. I don't find it attractive seeing someone out and about every single week. And I wouldn't consider someone, but it's the same way as you. I wouldn't necessarily tell someone they got to stop. Yeah. But if someone was doing that before I got there,
then it's like, it's going to send you that signal, right? Yeah. Not for me, because that's not what I'm interested in.
So I wouldn't go there in the first place. But yeah, that was it. That was where it came from.
See, like, following on from that, I think there's so many different facts. So some men are controlling and some men are very insecure. So she's right in a sense that could be the case, but it's not the only case. Like, that could be one example. So that could be one example of an insecure man, and that's why he has an issue with it, because he's insecure. That can absolutely be the case, but it's about, like, expanding your mind to see the other perspective. So from a male perspective, another thing that I think could be a very valid point, if there's someone that you're potentially seeing or dating and you're constantly going out, he may not distrust you, but as a man, we know what men are like. So if your woman is in a club constantly, we know what men, they're like vultures in clubs. So, like, you're putting yourself into an environment where you're making yourself even more susceptible to that type of attention. So it's not even just a case of male attention, it's that type of male attention, which could come with a whole lot of other things.
Yeah,
men,
100%.
you're putting yourself in an environment, and I'm not saying it's the woman's fault in a sense of, because it's not the woman's fault that being in that environment just naturally attracts that type of attention. That's not the woman's fault. But you got to almost have the awareness that, okay, although that's not my fault, that's still potentially going to happen if I do put myself in this environment. And like, so you're giving all that, feeding into all of that attention that you'll potentially give, and that's what might make a man cautious about or unhappy about having his woman being in that type of environment all the time. And then you got to think, knowing that, why would you want to be in that type of environment all the time, knowing that that's what's there for you? If you've got a man at home or if you've got someone that you're interested in, there's a lot of other things that go into it, like to why that wouldn't just be about an insecure man.
Just to touch on that before you move on from it as well, like you're saying a lot about men's intentions, like being someone who's in the nightclubs a lot because I have to be for work.
Yeah,
bro. If I was to go in a club, if I was to write a tally down of the amount of women I know that have men who have cheated in front of me, or the amount of women that I know, not necessarily because I know them and I know they're in relationships, but because women are relatively quite open about being in relationships, but they're relatively quite open about not really caring in certain instances. I don't really know why.
Yeah.
Me personally, my most hated thing about being with a woman who goes out all the time, if I was with a woman, is women's idea of what a boundary are and what they're allowed to do as opposed to what men are allowed to do.
Yeah.
Can often be very different. I'm trying to be very tactful here, because this isn't for every single woman. I know a lot of respect for women. I know a lot of women who have their morals in check, and I know a lot of loyal women.
Yeah.
But when I'm in a club, I would say I would generally put it, and I think most DJs would agree with me in this instance. I would probably put it to an 80-20 split of women I see that are being very questionable and or cheating to men, and whether that's just because men wouldn't turn around and go, oh, I've got a missus, but do you want to do something?
Yeah.
And women are vocal about it. I don't know.
Or maybe men are more like secretive about it.
Yeah, but I've had it countless amounts of times. I had the most outstanding one for me was this woman come up to me in Brass Pig. This was obviously when I was doing Brass Pig, so it was some time ago, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And she came up to me, she came into the booth, and she was like, "Can I take your number?" And I was like, "Do you have a man?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, he's over there." And she pointed at him, and she was like, "No, but I don't want to take your number because of that. I just want to take your number because you're a good DJ and I might want to book you." And I was like, "Oh, like I'm not going to give out my number in front of your man because I think it's very disrespectful." And she's like, "Oh well, can I stay in the booth and get on the decks with you?" And I was like, "Right." So in my head, I'm thinking, if I had a missus, this is already an uppercut from hell. that is pending at this stage already, yeah. like the ones where you go down to pretend to your shoelaces, and then it comes up from the shoelace. but then I'm like, right. So I was like, oh, probably not. Anyway, so then I was like, cool. Like that's not the best, but whatever. He didn't seem to be fazed by it. Anyway, so then like I'm.
But then before you continue, straight away there, like you just said, so even if she wasn't wanting the number for personal reasons, you've already established to her, right, I'm aware you're in a relationship, so I don't want to give you my number in front of your boyfriend because everyone should be able to know how that's going to look. And her alternative was then get in the booth with you. And it's like, how does she think that's going to look?
But to her, I'm not saying she's unloyal because of this, because in her head, that was generally okay. In a man's head, in my head, that's not okay.
But then this,
if I had a missus,
it's not okay.
Like that was going out and doing all of that.
Yeah.
Like I would
in
be
front of you.
What's
she doing when you're not there?
because I'm not being funny. Yeah, I wasn't in a relationship, so if she would have turned around and went, "No, I don't have a boyfriend," that's as far as I'm asking.
Yeah.
So then from that point, it's cracking on.
Yeah.
It's game on. Do you know what I mean? Like, but
it's a respect.
But then obviously on top of that as well, if she said, "Yeah, I have a man, but I wanted it for like booking reasons," and a man wasn't there, I still would have give it. But yeah, but anyway, so then we fast forward like 20 minutes down the line, and she's wandered off with him or whatever. They're having the night. Anyway, she comes back to me and she comes back to the booth and she goes, "Psst." I was like, "What's up?" And she was like, "Can I come in?" I was like, "Yeah." I open the door, let her in, and she's like, "Yeah." So She's like, I sent my man upstairs now. He's not here, so can I take your number? I was like,
women are
like,
devious, man.
You're not getting the point here. And she's like, I didn't say that to her. And then she's like, yeah. She's like, I told him that the bar downstairs didn't have the drink I wanted, and they've only got upstairs, so he's went up there. So we got, we got a quick minute.
Pause.
And I was like,
so you created this whole scenario. You've literally
created
a whole fake scenario to get your man out of the picture, so you can then get someone else. But
you've already said that you wanted the number for strictly professional purposes.
Why don't you just go tell, if that was really true, why don't you just go tell the man, right, I'm going to get the number so we can book him for this.
Or even still, send your man over to get my number. Or I'm going to give it to the man.
In fact, that would have been the more respectful thing to do. If you really did want to get your number for the booking, is tell your man about that.
Or at least get him to come over.
And then tell him, or bring him over with you.
Oh, and him then go, no, it's fine.
So he can hear the whole conversation.
Yeah,
and what you've described there to me is something that I think is so important in every relationship, and it's important on both sides in every relationship. But sometimes people they're either not aware enough to recognize where they're being disrespected. But respect is such a big thing. And straight away there's multiple instances of a woman in a relationship in there from that story who's not respecting her man at all. And that's a big problem.
It's nightmare material, bro.
If you don't respect if I'm in a relationship with someone, you got to respect me at all times. And I'm going to do my best to do the exact same. And maybe you'll slip up here and there. But
because
what you're describing is intentional.
Everyone's opinion on what's right and wrong is different, right? And not only is everyone's opinion right and wrong different, but some people's opinion on what's right and wrong are wrong.
Yeah.
In the eyes of someone else. So that is what it boils down to is compromise, understanding, and stuff like that. But then there is stuff that generally is just
clear
wrong.
cut. Yeah. And
it's like the right thing to do there was to go, okay, like I understand that, I respect it. You're trying to be respectful to my boyfriend. I'll bring him over to make sure that he tells you it's okay. Then you can give it up. No worries.
Yeah.
But then she's obviously come over and messed about. I remember there was this one time, another girl come into the booth, in Brass Pig as well. General consensus of area here, but she come into the booth and she was like, oh yeah, can I take a photo of you? I was like, yeah, no worries. She gave the phone to her boyfriend. So already at this point, I'm thinking, oh, cool, but her boyfriend's taking the photo. She's obviously he's given the phone back and she's like, thanks. And she's like, oh, can you wave? It's my boyfriend. So I've waved over. I was like, yeah, you're right. At this point, I'm
I a puppet? Am I a fool, bro?
This is like very uncomfortable. Anyway, so then she stood in there and she's like, oh, can I stand there for a minute? I was like, yeah, cool. 10 minutes have passed and her boyfriend just went like this, like, are you going to come over? And she went, oh, give me 5 more minutes, give me 5 more minutes.
You're about to be in the middle of like a domestic, and you're not even a part of it.
I'm just like, this is unreal. So then the boyfriend's come up and got irate at me and was like, send her out the booth now, like she shouldn't be in there with you. I was like, bro.
Bro, control.
I just said straight respectfully, I'm going to keep her in the booth now. And he was like, well, what do you mean? You just come over and act like I need to help you.
With your own woman. There's a demand in it.
It's not controlling your woman.
Yeah.
But you should have established the boundaries.
Yeah.
Your woman should know from the get-go that that's not acceptable.
Like straight away there, it's like, no woman would ever catch me dead in a scenario where I have to ask another man to tell her to come out of a scenario which is disrespecting me.
No woman would catch me dead where she leaves to go stand with another man.
And I got to ask him, give my girl back. No. What do you mean?
Not even that far. No woman is leaving me to stand with another man at the club. Unless
there's so many levels.
They are blood related.
But it's crazy.
To me,
but once again, the fact that she put him in that situation is disrespect.
But it's obviously that situation.
People always think disrespect is name calling and this, that, and the other, and it is. It's not just that. It's through your actions. And like one thing I say, and this feeds into like dating culture, and I think a lot of people's minds in dating culture nowadays, especially like the slightly younger, like the generation slightly behind us, their minds are very cooked when it comes to. They don't know how to apply themselves.
It's because there's that middle ground now that people like the seeing and the situationships.
But it's like some people be like, oh, I want a relationship, I want this, and this. But they don't, for 1 second, have the self-awareness to stop and think, right, okay, I want all this, and this. What am I from the perspective of someone else? Am I being what I can be or the best I can be to the other person to attract what I want?
The ability in the younger generation, bro, to self-regulate.
They don't have it.
It's non-existent.
Yeah, and everyone they just want that immediate thing, but they don't have the awareness to actually think about what they're doing and to apply yourself to something. You can't just go after something in life because you want it and expect to have it because you want it. You have to actually apply yourself to be able to put yourself in that position to get it. And that goes for anything. But if you're talking relationships, once again, if you're looking for a serious, committed relationship, why are you in a club every week? That would not. Those two things conflict.
And the thing is, bro, like, why would you even want, like, as a man or a woman, why would you even want to go in to a club and try and get someone? You can't speak.
Yeah.
It's too loud.
You can barely see them.
They often stink.
Yeah.
Like not
people are drinking.
Women and man, because you're drinking, you're sweating, you're dancing.
People are drinking, and you don't know. You know, someone who's drunk, you don't know what their real intentions are. Are they just drunk and they're having a good time and you're talking?
Then you're always, by the way, and this is
always.
and this is specifically to the women.
Yeah.
You always will have that friend. And everybody knows what I'm about. Most men will know who are watching this about that friend. I'm a capital THAT. The friend that is
there's always the one
is the one. Like, and
to be honest,
I'm trying
before we go there, I understand. I don't
understand.
I understand women.
Why would you not?
Pause. I understand women in this scenario, in these environments. Their friends will be looking out for them and their safety. I understand that. I'll start there. I do understand that part of it. Like, women have got to look out for each other in these environments because there's a lot of shitty men and dangerous men around. So I understand it from that perspective. But there are scenarios that you might be in where the man is not a shitty man. He's just a man just, you know, might be naturally engaging with your friend, and your friend is engaging back naturally. So there's nothing toxic, alarming, or bad going on at that particular moment. Carry on.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That friend, with the just capital THAT, that friend is fine. The friend that's got the genuine good intentions of just looking after their friends, that friend's fine. But then you've got that friend that is just looked over and is enjoying the group dynamic, and then the group dynamic no longer becomes a group dynamic because there is a denominator in the numbers, which
or a lack of attention that goes to her
and 3 women.
Yeah,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be any type of woman that looks any type of way or anything, but there is always going to be that one which has that malicious intent, which is, I'm not getting the attention I want.
Yeah.
Now it's time for me to
destroy the whole situation
and sap happiness out of the soul. Like, why would you not want your friends? If you could see, like, for me personally, and I know it's different for men because I do understand it because men can't be on their own. But if I went out with you and another friend and you two are cracking on, and they're generally just either wasn't someone for me or the other person that was there that just isn't feeling me, I would just leave.
Yeah.
I would just crack off on my own.
Not even in like a bad way. It's like,
I would just say, look,
carry on with your thing.
Cracking on. Yeah. Your friend's cracking on. Like, and I understand it's harder for women.
Yeah, definitely, because you don't want to leave alone and
like
stuff.
I understand that, but like there are still things that you could do to be respectful and
you don't have to be like how they act.
That one malicious friend, and bro, they always seem to come up at like the most awkwardest of times. Like, almost when the done deal is the done did. They'll come over, oh, I need a kebab. Oh, it's time for me to go home. Oh, I'm getting tired now. You ain't tired.
You're salty.
I'm tired of you. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Listen, let's talk about who's tired. I'm tired of you, that friend.
Trying to interfere.
Doing this. Like, nah. Do you know what I mean? This ain't New Game Plus.
But
I ain't completed this one yet. You know what I mean?
But like,
you don't need the difficulty to be any more harder than it already is. It's already hard enough for the average male to go get the average woman, because the average woman will have, statistically speaking, this is a fact by the way, 762.9% more attention in the club than the average male.
This is another thing.
That was my statistic, but that's a real one. That's how much more they have. Women, when they go into a club, right, and you got me started now, T. Women, when they go into a club, they go into a club with choice. Men do not go into a club with choice. Men go into the club I'm speaking specifically women that go out to get men and men that go out to get women. Men go out to the club to get chosen.
Yeah.
Women go out to the club to choose. Right? It is just how it is.
It's the dynamic.
It's just how it is. Men can be thirsty. They like. There's more of us, typically speaking, that will be out. Like it is like hospitality in certain areas is a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
There's more like whatever. Like men's standards can be lower or whatever. Like whatever it is. Everyone knows how it is. A woman goes into the club, and it doesn't matter what that woman looks like. It actually generally doesn't matter what the woman looks like.
Yeah, so there's always going to be a man that's going to settle for it.
Anything along the 1 to the 10 out of 10.
Yeah, there will always be that man that's
there'll
just
be more
hungry, got no discipline.
Yeah,
and
not even that man
anything.
as well. There'll be those men.
Yeah,
that's the difference. And
but
it's
women
already hard enough. To go out and like for the average male, it's already hard enough to go out and impress a woman because of the amount of choice that they are spoiled with all the time.
But they get to their head sometimes.
They don't need that additional you
in the middle, like messing up when they finally making a choice.
Ruining it.
But like one thing I want to say as well when it comes to that, and this goes for men and women, but just following on from what you said about the amount of choice women have. Some women, and you see it online and social media and stuff, some toxic women will try and play up this idea of I've got so many options and I got this, this, and this. And based on the statistic you're given, you can understand why they say, yeah, I've got loads of options. But some women will say, if you say about in terms of dating and texting and things like that, but I've got so many options, like you really don't. No one has as many options as they think they do. And then why that is social media and things like that have inflated everyone's egos, and people think access is an option, and because everyone has access, everyone can text another person straight away when they decide to. They think it's an option, but if you actually really speak to a woman that tries to flaunt about having options to text and all that stuff and date, a lot of those men aren't men that actually take seriously and consider. So it's like, that's not an option. It's just a man, like we said with the club, where there'll always be that other man that's willing to go for the 1 or the 2 or the 3. It's just those men in your DMs. And that's inflating your ego to think, I've got so many options because I'm getting so much attention. But how many of those men giving you attention would you actually take seriously? If it's only 2 of them, you've only got 2 options. You're only going to take 2 people seriously.
And not only that, would you take seriously? How many of those men are actually taking you seriously? Like in terms of because I know I've been a victim to it before. Like not a victim, but a culprit of it. But I've like tried to pop up to someone and they've not replied or whatever. And because they haven't replied, I wanted them more.
It's like that.
How it works.
That's like the chase.
And then it's got to the point where like they replied and like I've spoken to them for a bit or we've spoke and then I'm like I don't actually even really want to chat to this woman. Not because like and literally the only reason I spent like time basically repeat messaging or whatever was because they said no the first time. It was literally just that one thing. It was almost as if like because I am a man. My already inflated ego, it couldn't take it. The rejection not really replied, so I was like, nah, like, I need to get her to reply to me now. I need to speak to her. But then once I actually started engaging in a conversation,
you realise,
like, I was just like, oh, you know what, like, and then I went back and looked through some of the photos or whatever. Like I've done it a lot of times.
Man's having a confessional.
I look back through the photos and I'm like, oh, I'm not like.
So I can't say I've ever done that, but like, I just think. Because I've never been that one, like from our nights out back in the day as well. Like I've never been that one to like always be just pursuing women in a club. Like I said, like I really mean it when I said it in the last episode. Like I go to the club for the music, but like if there's an attractive woman, like the only time I'll engage with women really in a club is if it's like a real mutual thing. Like I'm not really that interested in, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but like I've never been all the way that interested in always just having to pursue women. Like if I get like a mutual energy that I can gauge from a woman, then I'm like, okay, cool, we can vibe, and it doesn't have to be nothing. Like I'm not, and then just from that kind of approach, it ends up being like that's how it kind of just flows from there, like in a more natural way. But like, I just think the mentality people have when it comes to dating, clubs, all of that stuff.
Do you know what? I actually generally think, in terms of having a bad mentality, men are the worst.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of having, like I would say, this is how I would sum up the current dating pandemic.
Yeah.
is men don't think right. Women, both sexes, or sorry, not both sexes, all sexes. Yeah. My bad. Don't cancel me. Can't regulate. There's not enough self-regulation at all. Men don't think right, and like women's boundaries are so obscured, bro, of what they think. And it's like, because there's these women that are generally pure of heart, pure of heart ish, but like generally there's women that will go out, and these things that they're doing, they generally aren't doing it maliciously.
They don't see
but they
the
just
error
are bad, but like they just don't see it. And do you know what really annoys me, bro?
Yeah.
The biggest thing that annoys me, and it's always annoyed me in all of my previous relationships. Do you know that one where they go, "How would you feel if it was?" And they go, "I wouldn't mind it."
So you're lying. You're lying.
Yeah, you would.
Why are you lying? Why are you always lying?
Because you know that
it's gonna flip your whole point. It's gonna it's like your point that you're building up here. You know, if you agree to that, the whole point collapses.
It's not even just that. It's not even just that. It's just the fact that they know that because it's been brought up by whoever it is, vice versa, male, female, female to male, whatever, right? It's because they know that because it's being brought up, it's not something the other person's gonna do. So you're not thinking about how you don't sit there when someone goes, "How do you think that make you feel?" You don't sit there and go, "How would that make you feel?" You're thinking, it doesn't matter how I'd feel, because it's not going to happen. So it don't matter.
But this feeds into another point, which I think this is a big thing, which I'm going to say clear cut. This has been a very balanced discussion in terms of me saying, even if I'm critiquing a man or if I'm critiquing a woman, I'm seeing the opposite side, and still seeing how it's not as one-sided as this group is wrong and this group is wrong and this group, like it's a bit more balanced. But this thing, men have this over women. Accountability. Women and if you find a woman that can hold herself accountable, I don't think women realize a woman that can hold herself accountable is a very attractive thing, because it's such a rare thing, and it's such an important thing, but it's such a rare thing. Like, because I ain't ever if we talk about dating, I don't argue with people now. Like when I was younger, like you're a bit more like you don't
yappy.
Yeah, and you're not as mature, and you don't like, so like you might get into an argument with someone, you argue whether it's a woman or a man, blah, blah, blah. If I have an issue with something, I'm going to talk to you like a grown adult, and it's going to be a conversation. And one thing actually, if we're talking dating, that I notice a lot of people don't know how to do is communicate. And I don't mean communicate in terms of texting back fast. That's what a lot of people think it is when you talk about communication. I mean about the quality of communicating, where if I have an issue or we have a problem or there's a discrepancy, let's talk about it. A lot of people don't know how to talk through a problem without it becoming an argument. Not every discrepancy needs to become an argument. And one thing that a lot of women cannot do is hold themselves accountable to something they've done wrong. And the amount of arguments or problems that could be avoided if you can just admit to, okay, I've done, and it's not even about scoring points or holding it against you. It's like, no, we're just trying to get to the bottom of this issue. We need to, and it will happen on both sides. If there's something I've done wrong or something like that, we all acknowledge it right here, right now. Oh, I said this, I could have not, said it a different way. Because sometimes it can be that simple. Like a problem can start from not what you're actually saying, just how you said it. Or something like that.
Perception.
And it's like, all you have to do then is acknowledge the manner in which you try to engage the conversation about this discussion or this particular issue was wrong. And that's it. And you can just resolve it there, move on, boom, sorted. But if you refuse to accept that fact, the man cannot progress past the situation, because it's like, no, you're not seeing the error of your way. So if we just let this die with you thinking that you didn't do anything wrong, you're going to do it again because you didn't see the error in your ways and you didn't hold yourself accountable. And also, it's not up to the man to hold you accountable. Like, men get forced to do it because, and then you get made to look like the bad guy if it's a woman that doesn't know how to deal with it. Yeah,
or treat them like a child.
You should be able to hold yourself accountable. And that goes, I'm saying women specifically because I genuinely think women are just worse at this than men. But it does work as a two-way thing. So in a healthy relationship, both people are holding themselves accountable at all times. Or if they're not recognizing their faults, they're listening to their partner when they're saying what they went wrong with. And if you disagree with what that is, then you can have a civil discussion about where you disagree about it. But all these like people that just argue all the time, like it's like I don't know if it's an age thing. Maybe it's because as I've gotten older, arguing is so unnecessary. It's in relationship, it's so unnecessary. Because if you really love that person, talk it out. You can have a general conversation, no matter what. Like, and there's certain things that may occur that will bring it into argument. If you cheated on someone, yeah. It's game over for the relationship, but it's like an argument's probably going to blow up out of that, and you can understand why that would happen
from any side.
But if it's like, oh, I don't know, just something more minute, something more casual, it's like you don't need to pull an argument out of that. Like, and that feeds into the accountability, and I think that also feeds into people's mindsets with dating these days. And where I say, a lot of people say nowadays, oh, dating's really hard, it's really difficult. It's really not. But it's about how you apply yourself.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it's about how you apply yourself. And also, one thing that you need to understand is you need to become good at reading people. And not in the sense of like guessing people, but just reading people's behavior and taking them for what they are. Because another thing that I think men and women fail at in the dating scene is someone will show you exactly who they are through their actions. And some women, I'd say maybe, will be susceptible for ignoring those clear signs.
Because of like attraction.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm attracted to him. You may want him to be better than he is. So you're holding out for that. And that's how people get caught in these situationship thing. And I'm not going to act like I'm a saint. Like when I was younger, I was probably the guy that was maybe a bit more emotionally closed off unintentionally. So then you might be stringing someone along without realizing, because she's maybe emotionally attached to you or maybe wants something more, you don't or have not really thought about it because you're emotionally closed off. But because you're not having that communication, it's just being strung along. Yeah. And that's how people get hurt. And like the communication within that's very important. But also, if the woman was able to recognize through the behavior of the man, this is a very emotionally closed off man, he's not going to give me what I'm looking for.
Go somewhere else.
You'll be able to make peace with that situation, move on, and try and find the man that's better for you.
And then you wouldn't hate men for being mistreated by them.
And that's the thing. Like I think from the perspective of a man, sometimes it absolutely is malicious. Like some men are just pieces of, but sometimes it can be accidental.
But then that's equally flip side. There's a lot of times where a man will be given a chance by a really attractive woman, and they'll ignore like how trash that woman is.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's another big thing. I'm not going to go into the details of all the different things, so we'll be here to next week. But men are bad. I understand that. Men can be very bad, and there's very bad examples of stuff men can do. All I will say is, as a man, I've experienced a lot of those things that people would typically say men do, which they definitely do.
Nobody's as innocent as they think.
Yeah, I've seen the ugly side of some women on like that type of level as well, and I've known friends that have experienced it. And the difference is, it doesn't always get taken seriously when women talk about it. I'm not going to try and say it does. It definitely doesn't. But when men sometimes just don't talk about it full stop, because we already know it's going to get shut down.
Yeah. But we'll touch on that in the next episode.
Yeah.
That side of things.
That could be the segue for the next one.
Yeah. Because that, like I said, it's the same way you said last episode. There's a lot that we could touch in. We're about to go into another
whole big thing.
So we'll touch on it next time. But there's like you said, there's a big problem with the fact that there is almost an inability for a man, or not even an inability, but it's almost pointless.
Yeah.
For a man,
because you know what the reaction is.
Yeah, to even speak up because of the emotional complications that will come from the woman's response.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
leave it
put
there.
a pin in it. Again, exactly the same as last episode. If this is something that you want us to expand on, or if you just didn't really care, if you agree, if you don't agree, whatever, reach out to us. We're paying a lot of attention right now to the feedback in terms of trying to explore where we want this podcast to go and what we want it to be. And we are very, very interested to hear what you guys have to say as well. We are back now to a weekly uploads.
Yeah.
So we've managed to work it out. Hence why we're in the same clothes. We're essentially doing 2
episodes back to back. We just recorded
each week, which eventually will obviously put us in a massive front. So now we've got this week's and next week's, and then we're going to continue that. And back to weekly. We've got a lot to speak about, and as you could tell, we could touch on the subjects that we're talking about for probably another 2, maybe 3 times over.
Yeah. Like it's
so just let us know what you want us to speak about, what you prefer to hear us.
But also give your perspectives on that discussion we just had, because there's so many things within that. So like if you're a woman, tell us your experiences and what you think through your own experiences, but also based on what we said. And if you're a man, same thing. And then we'll continue it and
agree with any of the stuff that any of you say, we will put you on blast in the next episode. But that's me checking out. Peace.
See you in the next episode.